This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not being reprimanded by traffic cops, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Are you a cultural producer who has been impacted by the pandemic? For Culture is offering relief grants between $1,000 and $12,000 to cover your COVID-related losses and help you move forward with your creative work. If you're creating cultural experiences in any discipline at any stage of your career, you should apply. Exhibit designers, museum educators, archivists, restoration professionals, curators, archaeologists, history researchers, artists, and more. That means you. Not sure if you're a fit? Give them a call and they'll talk you through it. The deadline to apply is Wednesday, February 2nd. Head to forculture.org/recovery to get information on virtual group workshops, application support, language translation, and more. That's forculture.org/recovery.
The Beat of the Fox with Nastiness is back on K-Fox Night Beat.
Yo, what's the deal? It's the legendary Hall of Fame DJ Mixmaster Ice from UTFO.
What's up? Who you thought this is? This is Sir Mix-a-Lot.
And this is Terry Lewis.
And I'm Grand Mixer GMS.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Third Degree.
This is JJ Hudson from the High Children family.
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
That's my noise.
Peace. Hi, I'm Mac McGregor, the host of the You Can Make a Difference show, which airs live every Friday at 12 noon PT time. On the You Can Make a Difference show, we shine a spotlight on people who are doing amazing things to make a positive difference in our communities and in our world. We talk about what inspired them to do the work and what inspires them to keep going, how they got their start, and how you can, if it inspires you, plug into their work. We can all do something that makes a difference. So tune in every Friday at noon to the You Can Make a Difference show with Mac McGregor.
Do you want to reach out to the Vietnamese community in Seattle? Just advertise in Le Viet Tây Bắc, that is Northwest Vietnamese News, the longest running Vietnamese language newspaper in our region. Go to nvnorthwest.com.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
You're listening to Heartbeat Radio. I'm your host, Cindi Bright. Heartbeat Radio is a conversation aimed to take the pulse of corporate America. Opportunities for people of color, we're getting lost in the shuffle of change. I'm that provocateur of change. The hearts of corporate America are addressed. Access and opportunities will be accelerated for all people. Through Heartbeat Radio, you will gain a deeper understanding of what is necessary for change. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Heartbeat Radio. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to start in a different way tonight. So I'm going to bring Joy in with me and then just have a listen to this for a second.
When God speaks to a people, when he speaks to a house, when he speaks through a prophet, when he speaks through apostolic voices, when he speaks through a minstrel and a psalmist, I believe he listens for a response. Let's respond tonight. From the other side, some of you have been pressing for years. Up nights, can't sleep. You feel this anti-you barrier pushing down on you. But every time you keep pressing, that barrier is having to back up. It's having to withdraw. It's a glass ceiling that you've been hitting with the top of your head. And instead of getting upset at that glass ceiling and quitting, there's a heart rate that's rising. Your calf muscles are getting stronger. You're starting to jump again. Regardless of the temporary pain you feel in your head, regardless of the temporary pain you feel in your body, there's a breakthrough. There's a breakthrough. That glass has to shatter. That wall has to come down. I tell you to respond. I'm
With church tonight, I was listening to that earlier today, as we are continuing to talk about the voice of the Black woman. And when I hear the words that when we just keep pushing, that wall has to come down, that glass is going to get shattered. And by God, Joy and I's voice are part of that whole process to make that happen. So welcome to Heartbeat Radio with us tonight. It is Joy and I tonight, as we are going to be talking, continuing to talk about politics as usual, but we're going to start also adding in a whole lot more of the social issues that are going on in our country right now. And we feel that we need to be the voice of Black women across this country. As we're heading into 2022 elections, and we know that things are going to get even more real. So, Joy, welcome back on.
Thank you. We are aware of all the things. We didn't get to talk about that last week, but we're excited to be able to be back tonight to be able to talk about some of those issues that are top of mind for folks.
Yeah, and we are back in studio, so we're excited about being back in studio at Rainier Avenue Radio, down on Rainier Avenue, down in Columbia City. So we're happy
Across
to
the
be
street from Island
Soul. We didn't say that we popped in there before we came on air tonight. Yeah, we just wanted to start talking a little bit more about, look, every week, the different issues that are going on. We have a breakdown. Legislative session started this week. If you paid attention to our show last week with Dr. J on. And so we know that our legislators are in session for 60 days, and there's quite a bit on their plate that they are talking about. And so we just want to start talking about our views about some of these things. We typically say some things, but I think we're going to start talking a little bit more about how we feel about some of these issues and some of the things that are being tackled by the legislature, as well as our national scene of what is going on, and whether what we feel is necessary for that action that needs to be taken by our elected officials. So
it's going to be a hard 60 days. We already know that. It's going to be quick and fast. And we're looking forward to see what they can push through in 60 days. Typically speaking, I believe, but budget and money may or may not be talked about. So we're hoping that we can see some new things come to fruition as they get done with these next 60 days. And we are going to send positive vibes and thoughts to you all, our elected officials who are there doing the hard work and doing the good work that needs to be done.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm having a little bit of technical problems here, so I'm gonna, hopefully everybody can still hear me. I can see you, Joy. Hear me? Okay, I can be heard.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to, let's talk about some of the different bills and things that we saw that are in session right now. I know a big one on our hearts and minds are housing in the state of Washington, the lack of housing. And access to it. Joy, did you get a chance to?
I did.
Yeah.
So one of the bills that we were talking about, we were looking at was Senate Bill 5670 and House Bill 1782. Thank you, Mona Doss and Rep. Jessica Bateman. Legalizing multi-unit homes statewide. That's going to be really important because we know housing is a major issue here in our state and in many of our communities. Folks are having to move further out from their jobs. Like myself, I lived in Port Orchard at one time and commuted to Seattle. Now I live in Gig Harbor. My job is in Seattle. But we know that there's many, many, many working families that are doing that commute. So housing is going to be important.
Yeah, I hope, when I read that bill, granted it was pretty high level, but the way that I read it was they were trying to put in I'm just going to call them more stackable housing, so more density of housing.
Right.
So that is
homes between 2 to 6 units.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't see that they're actually tackling though the affordability issue, and so I was just reading an article the other day about most people now are having to move east of the mountain.
Yeah.
And you were hollering at me earlier today about thinking about moving east of the mountain.
You are not moving. Sorry, Tracy. To Walla. I love you, Kathy. I love you, Tracy, but Cindi is not moving to Walla.
It's affordability. No. Like, what do people do? And, I have to believe that employers in this town are concerned about that. I have to believe that they know that, with Amazon is moving over into my current hood, and that's going to drive, maybe, this may be a little bit of a cynical thing to say, but do you think it's intentional so that only the demographic of people that are actually making the high wages are actually are they trying to get rid of us out of here?
Well, what I was thinking was Amazon keeps putting what are those big facilities, package facilities in areas where it's a lower income, maybe. I don't know if that's intentional, but I'm hoping those folks are getting a livable wage and benefits, but I don't know.
What's livable here?
Well, I think I saw a report that said you had to make somewhere between $26 and $32 an hour to afford a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment.
And so the rent that they quote with that statistic, though, is like $1,600 a month rent. I don't know anywhere
that has $1,600
rent. So whoever
like
does these
$2,000, $3,000 a month.
Yeah, well, it starts with the 4 in the area I'm in. Like, it's no joke on the east side. And they're just running people out all over the place.
So now you're having to make $46 an hour minimum to be able to afford that kind of rent. So that's pretty incredible. But
so to that point, there is that wealth tax that they are trying, which is interesting. Who's got the wealth tax? Is it Noel?
Representative Noel Frame's wealth tax. That's House Bill 1406 and Senate Bill 5426. Thank you, Rep. Frame, for your work on this.
So that bill is only going after the people who make over $1 billion a year.
What did we say? How many people?
I think there's 5 people that make. I think that was the statistic I heard. Yeah. We have to spend millions and millions of dollars on legislator to try to force 5 or 10 people who have so much wealth to pay their share of taxes here. Meanwhile, the rest of us are out here struggling in the street. I told you what my tax bill, I'm afraid it's going to be this year again. I'm so sick of writing checks every 12 months. It's just so disgusting. So
Dave and I've had to pay too, so don't feel bad. Thankfully now we may not have to pay anymore, but yeah, it's 5 or 6 people that are going to be taxed on that with that bill. But I'd like to see them just step forward and do the right thing and pay their taxes like they're supposed to.
The impact on Black families. That last week when Dr. J was on, when I was talking about GDP spend on Black business, that statistic, let me restate it again, less than 0.5%, $1.2 billion was the GDP spend in Washington State this past year. Right. With a 5% Black population, that number should have been 22 billion.
Right.
So when you break that down and look at the pathetic investment in the Black community, the fact that statistically inside of corporations, they're still at, with 64 cents to the white male dollar. So you're still crippling and putting brown and Black families out of homes, out and away from here. So
still needing to do food stamps and, Apple Care, because there's no health care within those jobs that they're taking. So
don't you think it's like, Joy, you and I both ran. Thank you, Jesus, that we didn't win, because I would lose my freaking mind being in session,
do what we're doing
listening
now.
to them. Like, we're still arguing. We're still trying to pass very basic things for basic needs of people. Yes. And, that brings up the whole question about hope. Like, the younger people we talk to don't have hope that anything's going to ever change for them. We have left this country in a mess for them. We've left the climate. Like, there's just so many things that our sons and daughters are now saddled with trying to deal with, and they don't want to get involved in this grotesque system of politics to help make it change. What do you think? What do you think we should do? We're heading into a midterm election back on Washington, D.C. These Democrats haven't done a damn thing, from my perspective, to help progress the Black agenda. And they're going to come out now giving us the speeches to get our votes out there, but they're not progressing Black lives.
I had a friend tell me yesterday she'd like to see the candidates that are currently running include hope in their pitches, their campaign pitches. She'd like to see them.
How do we do that when the only people we can get elected on a national level have hit 80 years old, and so they're still mired into this.
Talking about Auntie Maxine, stop
I'm
it.
not talking. I
We
mean, there's
love her.
Pelosi and there's Joe
Pelosi,
Biden,
oh
and
my
I mean, they're
gosh.
all.
But Obama ran on hope. Hello.
Yeah.
He ran on hope, and I think I believe if some of our candidates here in Washington State would invoke some of that hope and some of that whatever you want to call it, within their campaigns, I think we can.
Well, Patty Murray's seat is coming up, and I was reading about her seat today, by the way. So she's not. Patty Murray's seat is not a given. Her being reelected. I saw Emily's List sent out a note about that today. I'm trying to
I
have.
see that yet.
Yeah, I just got it earlier today. So she's not maybe the political people elected her watching this saying BS Cindi, she's got it. Maybe that's right. Maybe that's right.
Like she's got it. I feel like she's got it.
I don't know. I just feel like the R's are just coming out in drones right now.
They're going to be coming pretty hard. We all know that. We know what they're doing. We know what they have done. We know that they have no problem stepping up to the mic and lying, bold-faced lies without any problems. So there is going to be some of that. It's not a given, but we're going to try anyway, or we're going to go forth and we're going to conquer. But I like to stay positive. I like to stay positive.
And I like to be real. And I'm trying to be positive, Joy, but my God, I'm if I've ever, who said, somebody watched our show last week and they said, it's the station manager, Tony B said, I watched your show, Cindi, and he said, clearly there's like a light switch that has gone off. You were clearly a whole lot more. I'm like, I'm in year 5 of having the same conversations, and we still can't progress things around here. We're still battling for basic things.
We want it now. And
we want it now.
Because we've waited, we've been ignored and erased for too long. And so we want it now. And you're right. It is time. I think that's why we're doing the show that we're doing. I think that's why we keep bringing on people like Dr. J, like we had on last week, to speak the truth and say things have to change. And we don't mean in a year. We mean now.
Let's just talk about some of the things going on in the world today, outside of politics too. Like, let's talk about what's really happening with our communities and with us. So where do you want to start? You want to start with the news anchor who
who I love,
Michelle Lee.
Mm-hmm. Sad to see her leave our community here in the Seattle area. But what's too Asian?
Too Asian means you're not white. So if you're I heard somebody recently make a comment to me, and I just looked like they because everybody knows I'm live on the east side over in the Bellevue area, and somebody said, Asian people are just buying up these properties left and right. And I just kept looking at them like I was trying to, like, what's your point? And so they don't like anybody who's non-white. They just don't feel that we deserve anything or that they deserve anything. And I'm like, their green is the same as your green.
Exactly. So, and we're here and we're not going anywhere.
Black
and brown folks are here and we're not going anywhere.
Is that true? We can't afford. They're taking away. Earning power is taken down. They're gentrifying all the areas. We were looking at the people sitting around us tonight before we came over here. Like,
oh, that's true. We were. I was like, wow. But I've seen gentrification. I heard that word in '98 when I moved here to the Washington area, because California was being gentrified slowly, very slowly, but it was being gentrified. So
I kind of wonder too. I don't know if you caught that Governor Inslee this week overturned the ban on affirmative action. Mm-hmm. Have you heard any backlash over that?
I have not heard any backlash. I think it was a good thing. I think people came out in support of that. So I haven't heard any backlash. So
for our listeners who don't know what that's all about, back in 1995
wow.
is when, what's his name? Tim Eyman came out with the, I can't remember what it was called back then, but he basically got mobilized and got a lot of people, including Chinese community people, to believe that the affirmative action which guaranteed access. So into education systems, into government contracting, like to have access to those things. It was misconstrued and
Said that it was unnecessary.
well, it was saying that, race, that we were basically admitting people into schools just because they're Black, but not the fact that they're smart and can and have the capacity, intellectual capacity to be educated. And at that time, and I remember these numbers when I ran for office. So in 1995, the statistic around the government contracts having access and being guaranteed those contracts was somewhere around 14%. That was in 1995. In 2018, when I ran, that number was 1 point something percent. So that number, when they got that affirmative action ban, the whites loved it, so that they have 99% access. Some of the Chinese community thought that they were starting to gain from that, but the data shows just the opposite of it. And so I remember trying to talk to people at doors about that, and the only thing they could see with me is Black. They couldn't hear the messages. They couldn't see past what I look like. And so but now Governor Inslee overturned that. And so I would love to have been a fly on a wall on why didn't we overturn it 10 years ago? Like, what happened that we're all of a sudden now doing it? I'm glad we're doing it, but why wasn't that power used to overturn it before now?
Well, we're in an environment where that needs to happen. We're all looking at overlaying a racial equity lens on all the work we do. Well, we better be putting an equity lens on state contracting. I think that's important.
It's interesting. I never, I don't know, those of you who have businesses in town, I never went through the certification process to get government contracts.
There's interesting to know how hard that is.
Well, I went to a training class on it, and I about gagged, because for the percentage of jobs that actually come to Black community versus the effort to put in it, I just decided I will just grind it out myself to pick up business. But I'm sure it helps some people. I just have never gone through certification. I don't know if any listeners have gone through that and have perspective and want to share it with us on it.
Please
but
do. Yeah,
we'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, that means that these opportunities are going to start to open up more. And, so be it if people get angry saying this is about quotas. Well, why should the fact that we have to actually use quotas and goals and all those sorts of things to force access, because we're not being allowed in, and it has nothing to do with our qualifications.
Right. The barriers up, and then we won't need that. And who's in charge? Who's
in charge?
That's supposed to be giving out these contracts. And okay, we've got a Black company, we've got a Latinx company, we've got the Pacific Islander company.
The gatekeepers are all the white folks, Joy. That's the problem, is that the people who are making the decisions are the whites, in the Dave Chappelle language that I love to use now. But so now things are going to have to start to progress. It's going to have to start to change. And there's so many people we got to see during COVID and pandemic, just how much creative spirit was out there in other communities. I think when people got to get away from, toxic work cultures and all that sort of thing, and started developing businesses, so we just have to help them now.
Awesome.
Tabor 100, I know they do fabulous work to help Black businesses. And there's also, I want to say the website is blackbusinesswarehouse.com. There's a lot of work being spearheaded. Craig Dawson is one of the people. He was on our show 3 or 4 months ago, the chair of the board of the Washington Roundtable, but he heads up Black Business Warehouse. And so there is work being done in our community to help propel Black community, Black businesses, and earning power for us.
There's so many influencers who are just throwing up Black businesses, and comes to mind Leslie, Les Dog is her moniker on Instagram from Saturday Night Live. She does a great job just amplifying. Lovia Jaya Jones does a great job just amplifying Black businesses and things that they've received or gotten or checked into or bought, and then saying, look what I got. I saw something come across my
There it is. Thank you for putting that up.
that's awesome. I saw
Mhm.
something come across my Facebook where it was like a Black business in Tacoma. There's a rib place in Tacoma. Me and Dave, it's on our list. We've got a list started. We're trying to figure out when we can go to all these places. Evening Magazine does a great job on highlighting all sorts of different international and people of color restaurants and businesses. So I'm just trying to keep a list and do my part, getting out to see these folks, and hope everybody else is doing that too.
You know, there's some interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch. We have a question coming from a listener. Let me try.
What are your thoughts on Stacey Abrams skipping Biden's speech yesterday? First of all, I was at work. I didn't know that. Thank
Yes,
you.
I don't neither. Do you want to give us some more commentary about that, or maybe producer can pull that up so we can take a look at that?
What happened? What?
I mean, I saw Joy and I were looking before we came on air. We were looking at I think it was on Attorney Ben Crump's Instagram where he said the speech is that what it was. The speeches we're done with the nice speeches. It's time for action. So that's probably what she's referring to. Is that
those voting rights bills need to be passed.
Need to be passed
yesterday.
And we don't need the speeches.
No, or the thoughts and prayers. We don't need thoughts and prayers.
We need some prayer.
Okay, a little bit of prayer.
We need some prayer.
We just need pass.
We need some action. And I think that message that she's sending is kind of the same message that we're talking about on air tonight, which is, and what we will be talking all year about is, it's just time. Like, we're just done with the niceties, and we're done with, trying to be politically correct. We're done trying to explain everything. It is time. That's why I played that song to begin with. It is, these walls have to come down. The glass has to shatter, and we just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because if we don't and get complacent, it's never going to happen. And I think it's Black women. That's why we're talking so much about the voice of Black women. It is Black women that have who are pushing and out here mobilizing and working. Somebody asked me this week, a friend of mine, if she's listening tonight, I'm not going to name her, but she was talking to me about me, and it was just interesting to listen to her, because she said, why are you like this? And ever since I've known you, you've always been this fighter, Cindi. And I answered, and I said something about, don't you want us to have blah, 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 blah. And she said, but that's the difference, is that you're always talking about us. And most people are only talking about me.
Yeah, me.
And so I was like,
we both said that when we ran.
I know.
We both said that. It is not about me. It is about
us. And I mean, maybe we can, I know we're getting close to break here. Maybe we can talk more about, like, I just thought it was an interesting question that forced me to think when I was sitting there, because I just don't know how people don't consider other people. So
especially if you're in elected office.
This wasn't an elected person I was talking with.
Okay.
This is just a friend of mine who lives in my community, and it's fascinating to me that I don't know how to go through life. And arguably, I look at my Facebook feeds, and I have moments of envy while they're taking trips all over the place while I'm out here in the streets fighting. And I'm like, maybe, I don't know, Joy, how much
got
longer?
A new truck. What? I'm driving Escape.
But it is an interesting time, and you can see that people like you and I, and others across the country are just pushing back and saying,
she says, as Black women, we need to come together and be there for one another. Amen. We'll talk about that after the break. We have another topic that we're going to talk about. So,
Yes. Yeah. I thank you, Gwenny, for bringing that up. I feel like that's what's happening right now, is that Black women are mobilizing together across the country. It's creating somewhat of a backlash. And on the second half of the show, I want to talk a little bit about just some of the interesting things that I know I've experienced. I was sharing some of those things with you, Joy, already, about the more vocal we get, the more danger they feel we are to them. And so we can pick that up and talk about that. But I do want to talk about the Black women mobilization and what it takes to help each other succeed. So I think I'll go to commercial now, and then we'll pick back up and talk about that when we get back here.
That up in Saks, our favorite black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.
Rainier Avenue Radio.
And welcome to our live studio audience for another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round one. Did you know?
The COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did you know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did you know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did you know?
Different rules apply when it gets this late, you know what I mean? It's like after hours.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right.
Hello, I'm an unpaid spokesman for DJ Sotovaci. I'd like to invite you to listen to his free-form music show. It's popular music the way it was never intended to be heard. Whatever gets you through the night, late nights, here on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Oh, no. Whatever gets you through the night.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all jazz in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Here's the bad news. You can catch the flu and COVID at the same time.
At the same time?
But the good news, you can get vaccinated against COVID and flu at the same time.
At the same time?
It's safe, convenient, and a wonderful way to protect yourself and everyone you care about. We're stronger when we're all protected. Visit vaccines.gov to find COVID and flu vaccines near you.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not meeting Mrs. Jones in that cafe for a chat and nothing else, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
That up in Saks, our favorite black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.
Welcome back to Heartbeat Radio this evening, everybody. I'm your host, Cindi Bright. Not as fiery as last week. We started off with church tonight, so we are talking about breaking these barriers down. We are continuing to emphasize the voice of the Black woman. Joy is here in studio with me tonight. We are continuing to talk about politics and social issues and things that we feel the Black woman's voice needs to be heard. Let's recognize our new quarter that we have, the actual quarter with Maya Angelou on it. Did everybody catch that? She's the first Black woman to be on a quarter, so we're starting to get 25% recognition here.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. We were talking about before break about the progress of Black women, and as we are out here speaking and taking action and walking away from Joe Biden's speeches because we're tired of all the speeches and we want action. One of the things we want to talk about is, I'll just call it the backlash of our success.
Right.
And, I know our ancestors, everybody has gone through this. Anytime we get like one step forward, there is a fight to push us back in our place or what they perceive to be our place. It's just, we watch.
Share your story.
Share my story.
Share your story, sister.
I
was a little shocked. So that's why.
I mean, it's because, so let me just say it this way. So, I got to think about how to say it on air. Because I speak out, because I'm talking about these issues, and because I am highlighting where I believe is the core of the problem with progress on race matters. And my whole lens has always been corporate America because I spent 30 years inside of 3 major companies in the Seattle area. I was in human resources. I was an HR director for many years, and I saw things. You read my book, you know what I'm talking about when I talk about where the racism is happening in corporate America. And the racism is happening in the middle management ranks. And let me break it down this way. Brown and Black people can come in the door more or less. I mean, you do have gatekeepers that are these recruiters that are filtering people out. But because of the push, I would say, Brown and Black people are brought in. And because corporate shareholders are holding leaders accountable for diversity progress, the safe space for corporate America to progress diversity is their gender statistic. So the gender report out is benefiting predominantly white women. And so white women are getting into these middle management jobs. And I'm being very vocal about speaking that they are the problem in this country. And if you saw my blog this week where I wrote about Ghislaine Maxwell and the fact that what she has done, she is a reflection of the cause in this country of upholding this patriarchy that runs every organization here. And she sold out children, and she's protecting the people that are destroying children. And the children, the statistics around our kids is the Black children that are being sex trafficked is like a 56% statistic. So the harm.
No, they're not going to get in trouble or as much trouble with Black children than they would with white children.
Correct. So to finish what the issues that I'm dealing with here lately, it's because I speak on these issues, because I talk about them, because we don't talk about them as a country. We don't put them on national news. We don't highlight what's really happening. We didn't highlight in Kyle Rittenhouse's case that his mom drove him there. Like, why is this person not being held accountable? And it's because white women have historically not. They destroy particularly Black women. They tear our lives, our careers apart, and they've gotten away with it. Well, I was telling Joy earlier today about, about some backlash that I got in an email, in the form of several emails. And the things that were said to me were horrific because somebody was trying to exploit me. And they were trying to exploit money out of me. And I won't go into all the details about the who and all because I actually feel compromised. But the emails that I got when they couldn't get money out of me, I replied back to them and I said, I hope that you read my book because it's women like you that I write about. And I said, chapter 4. And I said, if you can't take from us, exploit us, or profit off of us, then we have to tolerate this kind of behavior. And she went off on email. And so I start getting these emails with the subject line calling me a racist bitch and all kinds of stuff. You know, anytime you say white to a white person, we're all of a sudden racist because we're holding their behaviors accountable. But that was just a minor example, but it happened. I got several emails from that person.
Which is scary.
It's scary.
I mean, come on. Really?
Simply because you can't get money out of me. But again, that's a minor example, but it's the exact example of what is happening to Black women everywhere.
Yes. And
so that's why I'm speaking unapologetically as a voice for Black women, because who else is going to speak and who's comfortable? Not many people are comfortable publicly calling white women out. And I'm totally comfortable calling it. I'm not referring to every one of them. And people know that. People who know me, who know me know.
Yes.
But I'm tired of justifying that. those women are a problem in this country, and they're the people that are going to come out to help this patriarchy try to take this country back over.
And I think Ghislaine Maxwell is a prime example. She's not telling. She's not naming names. When we have people from the royal family, presidents, former presidents, celebrities from near and far. So why are you but she's not the first. When I thought about that, when we were talking about it earlier in the week, and I thought about that, Heidi Fleiss went to jail, didn't say a word. She just went to jail.
They protect them because of proximity to power. They've been promised something to shut up. And so you know what they've been promised? They've been promised
money, power.
I just bit my lip because there was something else that was coming to the forefront for me here.
We're on air.
We're on air here.
We're on air.
But it's what they will do.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can't emphasize it enough that I'm not trying to sound offensive when I say it, but if people have never experienced, I think white people's eyes are starting to get opened now when we tell our stories about what has happened.
But it's almost like we have to bring the receipts.
Yeah.
Like that post we saw today.
Yes.
Why do I have to bring the receipts? I'm telling you my lived experience. I'm telling you an experience I had with a woman who was white, who had her thumb on me, who wanted to dim my light, who wanted me to be less extra. I had that. So in that situation, no, I'm going to be me.
But we always couldn't be like this, Joy.
No. I think us running for office kind of sparked something because we're like, you have to be a certain way when you run for office. At least we thought that. At least in 2018,
You did.
I did.
I did.
I thought I had to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And I just told this story at our Gig Harbor for Racial Justice group where, I thought I had to not wear large hooped earrings and I couldn't wear the red lipstick. And then in 2020,
we were actually coached that way. Do you remember?
Right.
Like people were saying that kind of stuff. I remember rebelling. There's a shock. Cindi was rebelling. I remember being told, how to have a conversation. And I'm like, I'm 50 something freaking years old. I know how to hold a conversation. I don't need to be told how to speak and what to say and what words. And I was actually told how to use my hands. What are people talking about?
I don't think any of that matters these days. Like really?
Well, we were the start of the wave of Black women running, right? Like that was 4 years ago now, but there weren't many people. I mean, that's how I met you.
Right. There was 5 of us, I think.
That ran. And Melanie Morgan won.
Melanie, Deborah Intiman, me, and we're missing one.
I don't remember. I don't remember who else, but I know you and I didn't win.
Right.
And I was, at the moment, I didn't know what to think, but looking back, thank God, right? Like, thank God I didn't have to go sit in a house session and listen to or play the game. Because what was happening with me at the time, remember I was telling you some of the stories, like it's so icky. People wouldn't even take a photo with me. I mean, the elected officials, and I could name them today, but I'll be gracious on air and not share who you are.
Thank you.
Because now you want my money to help keep you reelected. Isn't that interesting how that goes? But wouldn't want to take a picture with me because...
Which I was shocked when you told me that the first time.
Oh my God, it was so disgusting. And I was the endorsed candidate and didn't want, because the system had already said Cindi wasn't going to win. And so they just didn't want to be seen with me. And so you know how that goes. So what do they say? The toes you step on today are connected to the ass you have to kiss tomorrow. So you best be paying attention to what Cindi Bright and Joy Stanford are doing, because you may have thought back then you could diss us, but let me tell you, we are not done. We're not done, right, Joy?
We're still talking about it. We're still amplifying Black women who are running for office. We're still talking. We're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because why not? I mean, this is why I'm like, okay, there was a reason why we didn't win. This was part of the reason, because this is our path to be able to come and have hard conversations and talk about hard subjects.
And we're still active. So Joy and I have, we have some other plans that we're working on right now too, because we want to make sure we support any Black women that are even thinking about right now.
And there's some great Black women who I will not name right now that are thinking about running for office.
And we're going to help them. Right.
So
We're
got
going to help them. We have some things going.
Yeah, in the background. So
Mhm.
stay tuned to hear more about that
Mhm.
as the weeks come by. So yeah. What's another topic we wanted to talk about tonight?
We had I'm just looking. Hi, Bonnie. Thank you for listening. That's my friend Bonnie and Penny out of Napa, California, listening in.
How's
to
the
us
wine?
tonight.
How's the wine?
Penny was my
I
old
brought
boss.
wine too, Cindy. It's in the back of my car.
You did?
I did.
We'll have it on air next week.
Okay. Our producer's
Just
like,
cracking
"What?"
up over here. We are literally thinking of kind of the red table talk format when we sit here and do this show. So this could include our wine. Because if you think we're real sober, wait, wait till you hear us after we have a glass of wine or two and start talking about what's going on around us here. I'm constantly measuring my words and what I say because I don't want to be egregious or offensive on air.
Exactly.
Except I said the toes you step on.
Yeah, you did say that.
It's the way it is, though, right? Oh, Gwen wants to join us. You absolutely can. Yes. What else were we going to talk about, Joy? Tonight?
You had a list of stuff.
We had a whole list. The Ghislaine Maxwell thing was so disturbing to me on so many
I would say that was
levels.
like top
that one
of mind for me as well.
The other thing that I'm preparing a blog for right now. We can talk more about next week, but because I'm still on my corporate America, because I keep watching the trends of terminations and people. There was a pretty big. I'm trying to think of the person's name, but the person who was in charge of artificial intelligence at Google. Who called out the fact that the facial recognition was racist. Well, they fired her, but she went out and got Daniel, if you can find that article, she went out and got some massive funding to. This is what we have to do, right? You don't want us there. We'll go compete with you.
That's right.
We'll come out and
she should have hired the two ladies out of Oakland.
Oh, two ladies out.
The attorneys.
Oh yeah, the ones we had on the show.
Yes.
Shauna and Felicia.
Yeah.
Let's just give them a shout out.
Rock stars
yeah.
out of our home state,
yes.
Cali. Yes.
Their firm is called Orthween or something like that. Orthween, something like that. But they're out of Oakland and are helping many of the brown and black people who are coming out of these companies and helping fight for their equity.
Because they help the folks out of Kaiser.
Yes, that's right. Kaiser. Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So anyhow, she took them on and she now has the funding to go out and compete with them. And so, when I read that and just the nature of the work in my own business that I do, when I get to see how the impact of these behaviors of people who just simply reject people who don't think like them or look like them or who aren't afraid of them. That's the other thing too, is if you can't intimidate me, everybody says to me, I just heard it last week, Cindy, you intimidate people. Well, hell, I'm just showing up. Like, I don't know what to say about that.
Really?
Yeah, I get that a lot. I get that. It's the strong personality that I have. So do you think I have a strong, is my personality too strong for you, Joy?
No, it's not. Sorry, Cindy. It's not.
I don't know.
When I first met you, I think we were both like, hey, you're running for office? I'm running for office. What? There's another black woman running for office? And then Melanie came over and I was like, oh my God, there's several of us. Yay.
I remember beelining over to you guys in a room when I saw you there.
That was at the One America event.
It was at the One America
event. Capitol Hill.
That's exactly right. I remember that. Yeah.
I met Pramila Jayapal for the first time at that event.
Yep. Me too.
I was super excited. So,
yes. She's back there battling.
Like, doing the work. Hello. I'm glad though. I am glad. And I am grateful and I'm appreciative of her.
Have we heard anything from Marilyn Strickland lately by any chance?
She spoke at the new Emerge cohort this weekend. She's phenomenal too. She's doing the work too. And she's helping push through that Build Back Better act. And
why is that Build Back Better still out there? What's going on with that?
There's a little bit of hold up with Manchin. I'm going to say his name. Yes, I'm going to say his name. and Cinema. I think that's her name. Hello, could we get it together, people? They've got their own thoughts around what should be happening in the bill, and so the nice thing is, I was happy to see that our president Joe Biden said we're going to get something done, and we're just going to have to negotiate this thing to death. So
I'm just not feeling him, Joy. I mean,
come on, we got to give him a chance.
Joy, he
got to give him a chance. Has it been a year? It's been a year. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been a year.
Okay.
We're in midterms. I don't wish anything bad on the man. I think he's a wonderful human being.
He is.
But why do we give capital A, capital F about what the Republican? I mean, I thought we won the House, and I thought we had with the 50-50, and we have a vice president who can break the vote. Why are we still even dealing with these people?
I am sure my husband is watching it. He's like, yes, Cindy, yes. I know.
Stop pandering to these people. Again, what we said last week.
We always try to play ball, and they always say we're not playing ball.
It's a street fight, and you can't win a street fight playing fair.
Got to play dirty.
Look, we just need to take off our earrings. We need to swing and exercise.
Put the Vaseline on our face.
Yes,
do what we got to do.
Just the pandering to these folks who are never going to align. And Donald Trump's going to run again if they don't. He's still not locked up. Why is him and his family still out in the streets? Like, how does this happen? How do we have this?
And he should have been one of the ones arrested along with Ghislaine Maxwell. Hello. You were at the island.
And for the insurrection.
Oh.
And for having his kids in office, the nepotism, the criminal stuff.
That didn't know a darn thing. What White House staffer is going to write a book? Hello, raise your hand. Let us see who you are. We need a book, a White House staffer for those 4 years.
Simone, let's hope. Did you see Simone Sanders got her own talk show?
What?
I just read that. See, and so that's a courageous Black woman. So let's hope in her talk show. Now, they may have signed her to death wishes if she says anything about what went on in there. But I mean, we can read it. Can't my Black women who are listening, we can read what's going on back there. We could read why Kamala Harris is silent and paralyzed almost, and not out visibly the way we thought we were hoping for
that she would be.
Her hands are tied. We know that. We know how that stuff goes. They're doing to her what was being done to me when I ran, which is to keep you just nope, you just nope. She can't
stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. No, there is no lane. What were we saying this weekend? There's no line. We're gonna wait for our turn, like we're at a water fountain.
It is our turn.
Yeah. Hello.
And it doesn't
we are
say
not waiting.
It doesn't say that water fountain doesn't say for coloreds only. We are here, and we are trying to move these mountains forward and get people out of our way.
The late great Karen Basserman used to say, the best worst case scenario is a Dem running against a Dem. One emerge graduate or alum running against another. You've got two great candidates. Pick one. Pick one that speaks to you. That's all you have to do.
And you raise an interesting question or point then, because when that happens, and that is going to happen.
Oh,
right. So the historically thing is, we just line up around the Democrats who challenge the Republicans. But let's talk about racial equity progress and what that's going to entail. And from a party perspective, the Democrats don't want to touch Dem on Dem races.
No.
However,
that's scary. No, it's not.
However,
dual endorse and move on.
If you say, no, I think different. It is not a dual endorsement. If you say that you want racial progress, then you line up behind. Equity is about investing more into the marginalized people in the marginalized communities. Then if those are your values, then stand behind them. And while it may be uncomfortable to tell
and not popular,
you will not progress issues while you stay in the safe lane to protect in case that person ever ends up in office and you don't want to be on their bad side. That's like childish thinking from my perspective. Like, put your money and your power behind where you say your values are.
But there's a lot of strategy happening here. I think when that happens, there's at least that's been my reading of it, is that there's strategy behind this. Because if someone like me or you won, that's great. But if the Dem incumbent wins and we didn't stand up behind them, now they're not gonna play ball with us. So there's a strategy.
But
there.
it sounds like I understand it.
Yeah. But is it right? There's the question.
Yeah.
Is it right?
Do we want to play like that? Who wants to play like that? I mean, it's politics, right?
Yeah.
So game on.
Yeah.
Right? Game on, bitches, right? Like that's what it's going to take to progress these issues and get more people elected. And without putting money and the engine behind the black candidates, brown and black candidates, you can't progress. It's too difficult. Like we all know what it takes to raise money and get yourself elected. And so I just feel pretty strongly about that. But that's just me,
We got some great candidates though. The folks that are thinking about stepping up and willing to run. The new Emerge cohort is fabulous. And so I have hope. That's what I will say. I have hope.
Well, can you say more? Or when will we know?
Unless they give me permission. Give me permission.
So not till May. May is the filing deadline, right?
Yeah.
Don't be playing coy.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't be playing coy, Joy.
Just shout out to my Emerge folks. Yes, the new cohort is the bomb. I do. I think they're a great group of women.
All right. So for our community, then we're gonna have to mobilize behind the sisters that come out of, and Emerge produces both all races of women to run for office. They focus on women. Yeah. Joy and I are working on some plans to support Black women. More to come on that soon to help our Black women.
Get our ducks in a row.
We're trying to get our ducks in a row on things.
Ducks in a row. Make it happen. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. Yay. This is a good conversation tonight.
Love it. I love it. I'm glad we're back in the studio.
Me too. Me too.
Even though it's going to take me an hour to get home.
I know. Joy lives pretty far south.
But no, I do. I am glad that we're back, and I'm glad you're feeling better and you're healthy. And I'm not happy about what's happening to you social media wise and the scariness around that. But
the only thing it does to me, it lets me know
fires your ass up
I know I'm doing the right thing,
right?
Because when you trigger them because they can't exploit you, and that's that's the stuff. I almost said another bad word. That's the stuff that can't be, that people don't see every single day, is what happens to us. And I don't feel that I'm a racist or that I'm being racist when I talk about the white women issues.
Subject line was that.
Yeah, it was pretty. She was angry.
Yeah.
Should we call her the angry white woman? She's an angry white woman who
we'll name her that.
Who can't handle seeing herself. Who couldn't handle seeing herself. And so that, look, let's just be real about, to address racial issues, racial inequity in business and in politics, we have to have conversations about white women. There is no way around that.
No.
There's no way around it. And so we're not going to dance on it. We all know how the white guys are, but they can't be that way without these women upholding them.
But I want to say I appreciate the white women who stop and call it out in the moment. Or like a couple have done to me, they came back and said, I should have said something and I want to apologize because I didn't say anything. But you best believe the next time I will be. And I know they have. And so that in itself is progress.
Correct.
And growth.
Correct.
When you have women like that who will step up and say, that's not right.
And
shout out to my friend Molly and Dana.
And I'm going to say another thing too about that, Joy, because I had this conversation earlier today. People get frustrated at the quote unquote white women tears. But today I said something about a woman who was crying, and I said, I would rather see the woman who's crying over it, because that means that her soul has been shaken. And so we have the ability to transform people who are starting to get it easier than the people who are putting their heels in the ground and sending me emails and telling me,
or my neighbor who,
or your
would not
neighbor.
apologize.
Yes,
Let's call her out.
correct.
Hello.
So
You owe us an apology. And no. Oh, really? Okay. So you're racist. Okay. Good to know.
So for the white women who do get it and who are transforming, that is a good thing.
Yes.
And I just wanted to finish that point because you're right. We have to recognize that when that is in fact happening. Your neighbor is a whole nother story all in itself. We're gonna have to talk one of these days about because Joy's husband went to have a meeting, and they were trying to connect the dots when he said my wife was here earlier, and they didn't connect that he was possibly married to a black woman. So it was
the lady that came for the other clicker, she was black. You're not black.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Anyhow, Joy, fun conversation tonight.
Great conversation.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks to our listeners. Thank you all for joining us tonight as we start to tackle more of these social issues. We will continue to bring people on, but we also are going to do this as part of it too.
With wine.
So thank you for joining us tonight. We will see you all next week. Have a good week, everybody.
Sacks, I favor black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.